Nurse Alice Benjamin is joining us. She's also known as America's favorite nurse.
We have to be careful because this will open the floodgates and open Pandora's box.
Not only is the beet good at helping to bring your blood pressure down, this is nature's Viagra. What I really want viewers to know is don't throw your coffee cup away just yet. It's really important that we as healthcare professionals take the time to decontaminate these things. When it comes to pancreatic cancer, it's the fourth leading cause of cancer death. And stage 4 is basically the most advanced stage of cancer. Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of Nursing Now here on Facebook. I'm Nurse Alice, and this is the show where we talk about all things health and medical. We bring you the latest news, and we talk about trending stories and topics that impact nursing. We do this every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm excited to be with y'all. So thank you so much for joining. If you're here on Facebook, obviously, so please share this live, start your watch party, and start mentioning in the comments where you're from, what you do, whether you're a nursing student, a new grad, experienced nurse, APN, would love for you to join the conversation. And I think that's one of the cool things about us being here on Facebook is that we're more interactive. We get to see your comments. And as well, we get to show pictures and videos occasionally from time to time. So you guys get to see what I'm talking about. And we also have wonderful guests that come on this show. So this is a really, really great forum. And I'm excited to be here. And again, I'm Nurse Alice. So let's kind of get started here. Okay, so what's happening in the world today? Well, let's take a look at some stats here. So here in the United States, we know that 25.5 million people have been infected with coronavirus and over 475,000 people dead, unfortunately. This has been one of the worst things that's ever happened in U.S. history. So many lives lost, so many lives impacted, and not just from the illness itself, but the things subsequent to the illness, the loss of jobs, not being able to be with our loved ones, our friends, some of our activities and things that we used to do, we can no longer do. So guys, we are still in this thing. Now, I understand that some states are operating a little bit differently. Some places are a little more open than others, but still the United States as a whole is immensely impacted by this. So we as nurses, whether you're a student nurse, APN, we are, as the largest segment of the healthcare workforce, very much in the middle of this because we are not only providing care to those who are ill, but we are also consumers ourselves and it impacts our lives. So the intention of this show is to kind of just talk about, keep us abreast on what's happening, keep our finger on the pulse, if I will, about what's happening in the United States as far as COVID-19, how we're handling what's coming down the pipeline. So we know for ourselves, and not just ourselves and our family, but for our friends and for our patients, because they're going to ask you anyways. They always ask us, right? They're always asking us. And speaking of that, asking, well, I'm just going to tell you, for those of you who are on the front lines, I just want to say kudos. It is a very challenging time to be a nurse. Also probably rewarding. I'll go ahead and say rewarding because many of us are in this because we really care about our patients and want to make a difference. But for some of you who may or may not know, I'm actually a clinical nurse specialist and a family nurse practitioner. And I, like many other people, work several places and do several things. I do critical care transport, which is a beast in and of itself. But I work in the ICU and the ER. And let me tell you, honey, I did some per diem shifts at a small community hospital. And it was, I don't even know how I made it through the whole 12-hour shift. I really don't. So, and that was just one shift, and that was just me at this small community hospital, which I'm usually working at larger tertiary centers and things like that. But again, kudos to all the nurses. I know you guys are making the most out of every situation, trying to provide the best care that you can, and it's tough. So if no one's told you thank you recently, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. We appreciate you and continue the great work that you're doing. So some other things that I wanted to chat about. We gave kind of the COVID-19 status updates on how many people have been infected, how many people have passed away. Now let's kind of just real quickly chat about these vaccines. So if you're joining here on the Facebook Live, really want to, drop a comment in the chat if you've gotten your vaccine, if you're not getting your vaccine, still waiting to get a vaccine. Just kind of curious to see who's on and what your plans are. But I'll say this: United States, we are nowhere near what we had hoped to be when it came to getting people vaccinated. And you guys, we've talked about getting vaccines on this show before. We've talked about healthcare professionals being the first, on the priority list as far as getting vaccines. And, some people are still skeptical. But I'll say this: whether you want it or not, somebody else wants it. And one of the things that we do know is that because we're nowhere where we need to be with the number of people getting vaccinated. Let me just kind of give you an update on what state is doing what. So this is very current information as of today, earlier today. About 6% of people in the United States have received at least one COVID-19 shot, and only about 1% of all people in the United States have received both doses of vaccine. And about 47% of shots distributed haven't even been used. You guys, I think we're part of it is these pharmaceutical companies are making the vaccines, but states are struggling with kind of a rollout plan as far as how to get it distributed to the communities, and lots of things in the process that are stumbling blocks for these pharmaceutical companies. And let's be honest, we don't have enough healthcare professionals to deliver these vaccines. And they've actually solicited the help of non-health professionals and are trying to train people who don't normally give shots or aren't normally in the medical field to give shots, while being overseen by some people who are in the healthcare industry. So I think that's a little bit scary, but I get it. We need to kind of get these vaccines rolled out because we've had so many people fall ill and die from this. People need to get the vaccine. And I say this: I know some states have been more selective of like, okay, we're going to first have healthcare professionals that we're going to roll out to 65 and above, and then we're they kind of have this tiering plan. And I say this: if someone says no, it may not be a complete no, it might be a not now, but just move on. Next person, next, until we can, every vaccine need not be on the shelf, but needs to be administered into somebody's arm. I agree. I agree with myself, right? I believe so. These vaccines are very costly, but not just costly in how much it costs to make the vaccine and give it. Although the federal government is picking up the tab, and health insurance companies are picking up the tab on this, it's costly in the fact that people are dying, and more people want to get kind of back to how things used to be. I don't know that we'll ever be back to how things kind of used to be, but to kind of resume some of that normalcy, it's going to take more and more people to get these vaccines. And I hope that they do, just because of what I see in the ICU and the ER, and even with the CCT, lots of people getting sick, and they're getting really, really sick on these ventilators. And it's just, I hate to say this, and I can say this to you guys. You guys understand me, right? You guys understand. You're like nurses and student nurses, so you guys understand. But I'm seeing the same old thing. Someone comes in sick, becomes a little bit of short of breath. You put them on 2 liters. That progresses. Then they're on a normal breather mask. Then all of a sudden BiPAP, and then they're intubated. And then they're intubated for a while. They go into Rs. They become septic. Then they're on pressors, multiple boluses, and like we're doing all of these things in code. We're getting them back, but are we really getting them back? Because they still eventually die. So I don't want to see that for people, and it's the hardest thing. And for those of you who may not, well, I can't say that may not work in ICU, because I'm sure you guys deal with this on the med-surg units and all in all of the other units. But nothing is more heartbreaking. And I'm going to cry telling the story. Nothing is more heartbreaking than having someone die from COVID pneumonia. Like, you're busting your butt trying to save their lives. They die, and then you have to begin that whole process. What do you do after someone dies? And I don't know that every nurse has had a lot of experience with postmortem care and the things that you have to do. But I'll say this. In the days of COVID, the nurse is calling the family. It's no longer the doctor calling the family. It's the nurse that calls the family. So me having to call families and tell them that their loved one has passed away, and explain to them that we've done everything, is really heartbreaking. And I don't like doing it. I don't. It makes kind of made me sad having to tell that story really story. But anyways, that's the state of COVID-19. And so, guys, we got to swing this pendulum. We got to swing this pendulum and get into the other side of it. Now, we as nurses, we're the largest segment of the healthcare workforce. We're almost 85% of the healthcare workforce. So what we say, what we do, who we endorse, what we endorse, the information we disseminate can go very, very, very far if we do it collectively. But part of that is we need to make sure that we know what we're talking about, right? Don't just watch like whatever news stations you watch, whether you watch NBC, which I happen to be on, or Fox, or ABC, whatever, CNN, whichever station you're watching. Make sure that while you're listening, maybe you catch a soundbite or two, but make sure that you follow that up to make sure that you're getting the correct information. Okay, just real quickly before I go any further, let me just pop on in and say hello to some folks who are joining us. Kevin, thanks so much for joining. Kevin's always an active participant in our Facebook Live. Haven't received my vaccine yet. There's a priority list currently. Okay, I know, Kevin. But the important thing is that you're staying on top of it. And I think many states, maybe if you go to their public health department website, I think they all should have a website where you can kind of get a newsletter and get updates as far as who's next on the list, what's happening. Chanel, thank you so much for joining the show. Hey, okay, who else do we have? Dianette, I really don't want to be a guinea pig. I'd like to wait for a year or so to see what happens. Understandable. I understand that. We only know what we know right now, right? I get it. What we know thus far has received emergency approval from the FDA, and so it's deemed safe thus far. No immediate dangers, but again, long-term studies are required to get full FDA approval, and so people can fully understand the risks and not only the benefits. But right now, Dianette, I think what the chief concern has been is that this vaccine has shown more benefit than it has shown harm. So meaning, get the vaccine right now is most likely going to translate into if you do get COVID, hopefully you probably won't get COVID, but if you do get COVID, a more mild illness for you, which means that hopefully that you'll be less likely to be one of those persons who gets really sick, ventilator, and dies from COVID pneumonia. And if you have less symptoms, you're not coughing and sneezing and doing all those things. If has less symptoms, you're also less likely to spread it. So I think that's where the vaccine's benefits have outweighed the risks, at least from that's what researchers have said. Guynell, why aren't they utilizing nursing students to help roll out the vaccine? They are. So they are using nursing students. So let me tell you this. So if you're a nursing student, and guys, people on Facebook, I got IG here on the side. I'm trying to tell IG to kind of to join us here. But they are definitely utilizing nursing students. We have traditionally always used nursing students to help with delivering flu vaccines. Now, so more than ever, if you're a nursing student, you want to be a part of this vaccine rollout. First off, you should check with your school. Your school should have their hands in the pot somewhere, meaning someone at your school should be coordinating a clinical experience. So you can not only be a part of history and help to take care of people, but you can also gain that clinical hours and that clinical credit towards your nursing education. So they are utilizing nursing students, medical students, respiratory therapist students, pharmacist, any type of student. Matter of fact, I don't even think you need to be a student in an allied health field, because what they will do is they will train you how to crash course on how to give an injection in the deltoid, and some key things to look out for. But again, there are other health professionals that'll be there to kind of oversee if there should be any type of reactions. So Bianca's like, yes, they are utilized. That's right. She knows. Okay, thank you so much for joining. And then we have Maisha. I'm a nurse and had COVID in August. I took the vaccine because having COVID was worse than having minor side effects. Yes, Maisha, and that's definitely what we're trying to educate the public. So I'm sorry that you had COVID, but I'm so glad that you're on the other side of things now. And your personal testimony is going to be very, very helpful in this, Maisha. So, contact us here at nurse.org. Maybe we can have you come on the show and talk about your experience and maybe help you if you'd like, help us champion the message, because we are definitely looking for advocates. Again, nursing, we are the largest segment of the healthcare workforce. We are the most trusted. And so we should be talking about this, not necessarily always doctors. I love my doctors. I work with them. Yeah, they're cool. But nurses, we are the heartbeat of healthcare. And you know what? I didn't just say that. Actually, at the time, Vice President Biden, when he was vice president, he said that. And he also said we were angels on earth, but we just are. Other comments. I'm telling y'all, IG, you got to come join us on Facebook. It's popping over here. It's really popping. But let me just shout out some of these comments. Karen said, is it really necessary if you already had COVID? I haven't heard anything about it. So Karen's on IG has said that, is it necessary to get the vaccine if you've had COVID already? Well, Karen's yes. According to the CDC, they're saying yes as of now, because we do not fully understand or know how robust your antibodies created from the COVID-19 are, and we don't know the length in which they'll last. So for example, let's take the flu vaccine. We know that you don't have antibodies forever and ever, ever. That's why we have to get the flu vaccine every year. And also there are people who have been reinfected with COVID a second time, indicating that perhaps even if you develop antibodies, they're not as robust. So they are recommending that if you get COVID-19, you have natural immunity, but that still getting vaccine immunity would be helpful to prevent even the slightest possibility that you may get COVID again. So that's why, Corinne, thank you for your comment. Now, y'all over here, join us on Facebook, okay? Kevin, again, they allow students in Texas to do it as well, and have extended temporary license and graduated students. Oh, yes. So, Lars, let me tell you about this. So thank you for that, Kevin. Yes, nursing students. Now, listen, there was a period of time when it was really, really hard to get a job. I'm going to tell you now, hop on in. This is the time to get your job. When I did this per diem assignment in ICU, many of the people I was working with were new grads. And they were new grads who were hired in March at the kickoff of the pandemic, and they still need a lot more people. So if you're someone who's even actually a new grad and wanting to work in ICU, listen, hop on in. They'll be glad to have you. I think this is the time for nurses. If you're looking for a job, want to go acute care, critical care, emergency room, this is the time. They will train you. It'll be a rough training. I'm going to tell you this. It's rough. It's rough in these COVID streets, but it will happen. Corinne, she joined us from Facebook, y'all. I just answered her question on IG. She came on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. Please continue to drop your comments in there. If you had COVID, are they recommending vaccine? So Corinne, that's what we just answered. Thank you so much. Nurse Alice, did you get the vaccine? Okay, so no. Chanel, you trying to call somebody out. Okay, so this is my story. So I have I've been intubated before. So more than once. Severe allergic reaction to injectables. 2 particular injectables exactly. I'm allergic to sulfa and I'm allergic to neomycin. Like really bad, like almost on my last leg. Type of reaction. So my primary healthcare provider initially told me to wait to get because the pharmaceutical companies they're actively working on the vaccine, because there are some people, there have been, don't quote me on this number, but at last I checked, was at least 35 anaphylactic reactions that were, pretty like, whoa. And they weren't allergic to anything that was in the vaccine, but there were people who had severe allergies like myself to these other things. So I was initially told to wait, Chanel, but because of the assignments, because I'm on the front line, and because I'm also an advanced practice nurse and I'm the boss of me, not my doctor, but I'm the boss of me. I've actually changed my mind and I'm going to get the vaccine. So I will share that with y'all when I get the vaccine. But I believe it's very important because I'll be honest, when I work those couple of shifts, I'm like, if I didn't have COVID, then I might have it now. I'm just joking, but I'm just saying it was so prevalent. So around me, everyone was intubated and very, very sick. So I would rather have, as someone mentioned, or I think Maisha mentioned it, have the side effects of the vaccine, a little muscle ache, fatigue, maybe a little fever. I'd rather have that than the full-blown COVID-19, because Chanel is not pretty. Everyone, and if I can just be candid, let me just share a little bit a minute. And please, I want to be respectful for people who have lost loved ones during COVID-19, whether family, friends, people you know. But for those of you who've not maybe been in an environment where you've seen how it is to actually care for COVID-19, in the ICU, you generally have 2 patients. In the pandemic, sometimes you have more than that. It is what it is. If someone codes out on the floor, they got to come to ICU. Someone has to take care of them. And I can say this, I have had code after code after code after code. And to tell you how serious it is, as soon as someone has coded, they're deep cleaning all of the equipment because that ventilator is needed for someone else. They need it. They're actually there are still some places that are still a shortage of ventilators. We're running out of, for my nurses and nursing students who know what this is, Neo and Levo, our pressors, we're running out. We started having to mix our own bags, grabbing bags and mixing our own bags. And we know pharmacy mixes all bags, right? So we started mixing our own bags. There's an order for Levophed. Oh, we're out of Levo. Get Neo. And I'm just going to say this, I'm not operating out of my scope, but in emergency pandemic situation, the physician ordered Levophed, which is a vasopressor to bring your blood pressure up. We're out of Levo. Start Neo. Well, the order is I don't give a damn. We don't have anything. Give the man Neo so we keep his pressure up. So that's just how serious it is. And I'm not telling anyone to operate out of your scope. This was a joint decision with the charge nurse and everything else, but it was very life-saving things that we've had to do. And so facts, true. There no lies here. No lies here, guys. It's really tough. Brianka said, your side effects may be more severe though. You're brave. Brianka, I don't want to die from COVID pneumonia. I'm just gonna keep it at that, keep it as real as I can. I don't want to die from that. Listen, if I could just be sick, but I knew that it was just like cold level, I might avoid getting it. But because I have seen what it can happen, what can do, and these are people. Let me tell you, these people that are in the hospital with COVID pneumonia, they're not just elderly people with diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, all of these multiple things. Nope. Young, healthy 30-year-old, nothing wrong with them. Young 45-year-old, nothing wrong with them. 27-year-old, nothing wrong with them. Like no medical history, otherwise healthy, still got COVID, and COVID took a hold of them. So I don't want to be that person. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. So thank you guys for your comments on Facebook. Keep dropping them in. Start your watch party, share with people. And I'm telling y'all on IG, the party is over here. It's lit. Okay. So come and join us over here. But I'm going to answer another question here on Instagram. It's from Love the Many Ways. Do you think this will ever end? Tired COVID nurse. My heart is wore out from stories like you mentioned when they crash so fast and pass only us around them. You know what? Love them anyways. Thank you so much. And I hope I don't cry telling this story, because I'll just say this. I've been a nurse for a long time. Not last night. Sunday night, the realest I have ever seen in my whole 23 years of practicing a nurse and working in ICU ER. We had a code in that particular unit literally every 90 minutes. And it wasn't because we didn't know what we were doing. It's because the patients were so sick. So sick. And my heart does get worn out because I had to make multiple calls to family to explain to them. And see, now y'all gonna make me cry. Y'all gonna make me cry, tell this story. Calling these families to tell them that is really heartbreaking. And I'll just share this one example. Then we're gonna pivot because y'all not gonna get me crying on here. I'm gonna cry. My eyelashes are gonna fall off. This glue, I don't know, this glue may not hold up. But there's a Spanish-speaking patient I'm taking care of. Wife Spanish-speaking. Only English speaker in their home was their teenage 14-year-old daughter. Can you imagine? Listen, pandemic. We ain't got time. With no translators around for all this. We can't wait for a translator to come. We're able to do it on the phone, and patients are needing our help. So I didn't have, forgive us for not trying to be as sensitive as possible, but also understanding the limited resources and the patients we have to take care of. But imagine having to call someone and speak to someone about such an issue through their 14-year-old child. And so I couldn't even tell the daughter. I just said, and I said her name. I said, I'm so sorry that I have to make this phone call to you. And then I could hear her choke up. And then I heard the wife in the background said, no murió. And in Spanish, that means not dead or something to that effect. And then all I could say was, lo siento, señora, muy lo siento. And, and I had, then the neighbor, I guess there was someone else around, and they took the phone and was a representative for the family. But really something that I don't want it. I do it because I'm a nurse and I have to, and I care about people, but you can't help but cry. I'm at the nurse's station crying. Nurses around me know what I'm doing. They're crying because I'm crying because they too are making phone calls. And so we're taking care of patients. We're over here crying, and it's just hard. It's hard. So sometimes I laugh and I joke about things here on the show. And yes, we have to lie to get over, to kind of get over the tears. And these are the tears that you guys usually don't see because y'all got me crying here on social media. But this is how it is. This is really the stories. So okay, let me move on over. Let's get back to some of these questions, and we're going to get to our topics. Fanima said, I was told to wait 90 days after I test positive to get the vaccine. Any suggestions? Yes. So you are correct, Fanima. And I hope I said your name. So yes. So studies have shown that because there's a variety of robustness and the length of time in which antibodies last, studies have shown that people who do get reinfected, or their antibodies can stay at a particular level, what they're seeing is that 3 months has been at least the minimum, that you have at least 3 months of natural immunity that's fairly robust. So they have said if you've tested positive for COVID-19, to wait approximately, you can wait up to 90 days, but it does. From what we know thus far, there's no harm in getting it sooner. I will say that. But so I guess it's more of if you wanted to wait. Excuse me. I wouldn't wait any longer than 90 days. Okay. All right. Oh, y'all got me crying out here. Y'all got me crying. Okay. 23 years, girl. I don't know how old you are, but you look amazing. Thank you. Yes, I have been practicing for 23 years. Okay, Kevin Gibson, you got nurse. Oh, okay. I got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's the worst. Corinne, you are so right. Yes, it is real in these streets. And so also, and this ain't the topic for tonight, but I love talking to y'all. This is like our family thing. But I will say we will get into a topic of post-traumatic stress for nurses, because I can tell you it's very stressful. I have seen some things that I wish I have not seen, but we'll get there. We have to get mental health talks about everything nurses and people have to endure during this time, but you got it. Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, nurse. Yes. So nurse. And you guys, shout out to nurse.org for allowing me to have this platform to chat with y'all every week. And listen, I had some instructions because we're trying to be a little more laser focused on the show about the topic. But when I want to answer you guys' questions. And so I will sometimes go rogue and we get off topic because I'm answering your questions, but you are the people and I'm here for you. And I want to make sure you guys get the information that you guys need. So, and you know what? I love this interaction. So nurse.org, I promise I'm going to stay on task. I'm going to get to our topic, but I've got to answer the topics for the people. It's all about the people. Okay. Let's see. Chanel has another question. If someone had COVID-19 6 months ago, can they become infectious again? Does the virus live on in one's body? So that's a good question, Chanel. So there are some studies that show that the virus possibly doesn't go away, but it becomes dormant. So that's what they're suspecting. So if you've had COVID-19 in the past, hopefully your body's developed antibodies and can fight this off. But you're not necessarily infected. You don't necessarily remain infectious during that whole time, even if it's gone dormant. Most, although there's about a third of people who are asymptomatic, most people once you can be symptomatic. When you become symptomatic, it's more telling that you are infectious. So if you have a fever, cough, sore throat, acute loss of taste or smell, that kind of GI, like diarrhea, vomiting and diarrhea, which, by the way, let me just throw this out there. One of the other patients who I took care of, 30-year-old, young, no other medical history, He came in the hospital with admitting diagnosis of abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting. And the truth was, he had COVID, and those were his presenting symptoms. Then he ended up in the ICU with me. Went into heart failure. No hypertension, no high cholesterol, no diabetics, nothing. But the COVID went rampant. It was like flash heart failure. Then he developed pulmonary issues outside of that. But Chanel, I just went. See, this is what I do. I go off road. But Chanel, I hope I answered your question. Okay. No worries. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, Angelina. I told Angelina, I was like, Angelina, I'm gonna keep it to 30 minutes and I'm gonna stay on topic. But I didn't because it got good and I was answering your questions. And thank you so much for you guys on IG who are sticking with the conversation. Oh yes, we will get through this together. Gatika. There we go. I wanted to say it right. And then VT74. Aw, you have a big heart. Thank you so much. And I do look super young. Thank you. That's what eating healthy and avoiding all these avoiding negativity does. That's what it does. Okay. Now let me get back on topic. Okay, Okay, I'm gonna start this topic, then I'm gonna get to more questions and comments. But you guys on IG, head over to Facebook. Okay, so what we were supposed to talk about today was listen, I know we're not necessarily politicians, although I bet you there's some future congressmen, congresswomen, senators. Maybe there might be a future president or vice president who's a nurse or nursing student on this call. But we wanted to talk about real briefly, kind of broad strokes about Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan. You guys have probably heard about that. It was on the news. You know, he's our newly elected president. He's inherited a big old mess, nation just in the gutter. Sorry, that's just what I'm going to say. But, people are sick. They're lost their jobs. Businesses are struggling. Families struggling. So many things are happening, right? Everything's in flux. So what he created Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan. Now, mind you, some of these are executive orders, which he can implement. And then some of these things are things that still have to go through Congress and Senate, but he's pushing for them. And the whole thing, guys, is it's a $1.9 trillion plan that contains many actions that nurses have been urging the president-elect, or the president-elect, to take once he's in office. So the National Nurses United, which is the nation's largest union and professional association of registered nurses, put out a statement. The American Nurses Association actually put out a statement and a letter to Biden about the things that we wanted as a profession, what we needed, not only for ourselves, but what we felt our nation needed to protect their health. And so many of the things that those two organizations were requesting have been are a part of this plan. So let me just run down a few things that are going to be covered in this American Rescue Plan. And I'll say this, some of this will impact us directly because of our profession, and some of it will impact us because we live here in the United States. And so it's going to impact us this way. But also why some of this is kind of important to know as a kind of broad strokes is that patients will ask us. People are going to ask us. And you don't need to know all the details, but know kind of some global broad strokes about it and where to go for this information. And just so y'all know where to go for this information, I am going to put here in the chat box a link to the White House website that has all of these bulleted out. See, this is why y'all need to join us on Facebook so y'all can see the link. Boop. But I love y'all anyways. Okay, so here it goes. So some of the things that they're going to be talking that this rescue plan includes is support for an occupational safety and health administration enforceable emergency temporary standard to protect healthcare and other essential workers, aka put a plan in place to protect the frontline healthcare workers and our other essential workers so that we are safe as we are serving the public, that we can be protected. So whether if you're in the hospitals, or even if you work at Target, you're in the grocery store, right? Those are essential workers. Those are people who can't work from home. Essential workers are basically those people who cannot work from home because we are servicing the public in some fashion. So post office workers have been considered essential workers because they can't work from home. People who work in the grocery store, they can't work from home. Police officers that are in the field taking calls, they can't work from home. So putting an occupational safety plan in place so that we have proper PPE and that, we're kept abreast of things that are going on, that we have tools and resources to us so we can do our jobs and be safe. Be safe. Okay? That's what I'm going to say. Also, there are some things in his plan to help. He's going to invoke the Defense Production Act to mass produce medical supplies, including PPE, testing equipment, more vaccines in volumes required to tackle this pandemic. So you may have heard that how some businesses, I think General Motors in Michigan is one of them, their factories have been repurposed to make PPE. Because if you guys recall, many of our PPE and our supplies were brought in from overseas. We are going to start doing more of that here in the United States. Okay. As one of the world's leaders, we need to be able to stand independently and not be so dependent on other countries for things that we need for our survival. So that's being enacted. More resources to conduct nationwide contact tracing for people with for COVID-19. And I'll say this, and if you live in Los Angeles or California, don't be upset at me, but I value the Department of Public Health, but they are overwhelmed. Our contact tracing has been horrible. People getting notified 14 days after they've been exposed to someone. That's too late. That's 14 days of potential someone contaminating someone else. So we need to put resources in place. That's going to be a tough thing to do. But if you get enough people, wrap enough manpower around it, then we can develop a plan and systems in place. We have lots of talent here, lots of smart people. And we just got to get the right people in place and get these plans enacted. There's a plan for more stimulus money. So everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, many people got the $600 that a couple weeks ago, an additional $1,400. Now, let me say this. For some people, it's like, oh, it's just $600. Oh, just $1,400. That's not going to take us anywhere. That's not going to last. And true, while it may not last, for some people, that's food in their mouth. And not just food in their mouth, but food in their kids' mouth. So I don't know. You won't know what it's like to be broke till you've been broke. I've been broke. So that $1,400 can go a long, long way when it comes to people having to buy food, having to pay for medications, having to pay for medical supplies and things that they need just to sustain life. Okay, this is not shopping money. This is not let me go buy a cute little, let me go buy a new iPhone money. That's not what that money's for. It's intended to help people here in the United States survive. Okay. Also, part of this plan that he's talking about is emergency paid sick leave for millions of people in the United States. People are getting sick. They are getting sick. Now, as I mentioned, 25.5 million people have had COVID-19. Right. And if you think of the people who have passed away, the over 425, they were sick. Perhaps they were sick at home at one point before they end up, until, they passed away. But there needs to be emergency sick leave, because if you're sick and you can't work, you can't provide food for yourself or your kids. You may not be able to pay for your medicine or your daughter's medicine. I would hope that there aren't any landlords that are evicting people right now, but some places they're getting there. You might, it might be in a situation, maybe someone's living in a hotel, but they might need some money to help cover some costs. And maybe it's not even the roof over their head. Maybe they just need to pay for running water, pay for electricity. If you're, sometimes if it's not directly impacting us, we don't fully understand the ramifications of what this is like. But I can tell you, there are people out there who can't buy food, who can't pay for their medications. They're splitting medications. So, all of this money in the sick pay is going to help go a long way. And this money is also needed because we, not just to react to what's happening, but we want people to take good care of themselves. as much as they can given the situation. Because if people can take good care of themselves, if they take their medications on time, if someone takes their blood pressure and their diabetes medications on time as they should, if they're checking their blood sugar like they should because they have all their supplies, and they identify a problem, they can call their provider, get that adjusted, and then hopefully stay well. If they don't, if someone has high blood pressure or diabetes, they don't take their medications, or they could have a heart attack. They could, their diabetes could run rampant and they could like lose a limb, go blind, and, go into diabetic ketoacidosis. Nurses, you know what I'm talking about. But and I have some people who are not nurses. That's why I'm explaining this way. People having these basic essential monies to take care of themselves will help alleviate some of the workload and stress that we're seeing on the front lines, if that makes any sense to some of y'all. Okay. They're also looking to extending eviction and foreclosure moratoriums, right, till September 30th. We shouldn't be evicting anyone. Everyone deserves a roof over their head. These are some rough times. It's some rough times. Raising federal minimum wage to $15 an hour so people can have enough money to buy the things that they need so they can survive. There's a lot more in this about, funding and supporting public health infrastructure necessary to protect and vaccinate the general public. These vaccines are not rolling out as quickly as we'd like. We're repurposing places like Disneyland, Dodger Stadium, Petco Stadium here in San Diego, and repurposing places to be mass vaccine sites. We need money and people to do that, right? So we need to invest in that so we can get the public getting them through so they can get their vaccines and stay healthy. So those are some of the things that are in Biden's Americans Rescue Plan, and some of the things that I didn't mention in detail, but there's also plans to invest in education and training for healthcare workers, more healthcare workers, providing some. There's the CARES Act, continuing to provide money and resources to help offset some of the things that healthcare providers, to get them through school, to get them through their training, removing those barriers so we can have more frontline healthcare workers. I don't think, prior to COVID-19, not saying that the nation didn't appreciate healthcare workers, but I can say, like, I don't know how, you probably don't appreciate a firefighter, so you have a fire in your house, right? You probably don't. It's not until you need them do you realize that you need them. And so I think at this point, the United States government recognizes the significance, importance of our frontline healthcare workers and our primary care and specialties and things like that. Because truly, although you think the dollar is what makes you rich, it's your health. Your health is your real wealth. Without health, you can't have wealth because you're not well enough to work. And so I think that's been a real eye opener for many people during this pandemic. So those are some of the things that I wanted to mention that were in Biden's plan. So what do you guys think about what I just shared, what I mentioned? Now, those are just overarching things I want you guys to be aware of. So now it's balls in your court. I put a link in there. It's time for you as nursing students to do some self-education. So you're aware of what's going on. And so you can advocate and speak to your patients. And you can advocate and speak up for nurses. Maybe you're a doctor on here, speak for your, for physician colleagues, respiratory therapists. But, it's important to know these things. So, what the plan is, so you can take the ball and run with it. Okay. So this is the game plan, but now we need the players to play. So we are the players in this healthcare game. And so we need to play in order to win. Okay. So that's what we got to do. So let me take a look at some of these questions that you guys have been putting in here. You see my nose is running. Y'all made me cry earlier. Okay. Jackie, sorry, Jackie, took so long to get to your question, but let me see. Hi, Nurse Alice. I'm here and I really enjoy watching. Thank you. I have epilepsy and I have not had any meds for a while now. My neurologist retired and I have not seen any other doctor in my 50s. I have been doing well. I'm wanting to know if I should get back to my meds. Jackie, that is a great question. Now, once you have epilepsy, you have epilepsy. Epilepsy doesn't disappear. Now, I'm so happy that you haven't had any seizures or anything like that, but it's very important that once you've been diagnosed with epilepsy, that you are being followed by a physician. you definitely should. I would definitely go back and reconnect with the physician just to let them know what's happening with you. So in the event something does happen, knock on wood that it doesn't, that they're aware of what your history has been and what's been going on. You don't want to something to happen and you go into the emergency room and it's like, well, where's the medical history? What's been going on? Who's been following you? And nobody can speak to that. So it's always good to have a physician there. And you know, you depending on how severe your epilepsy was, you know, by the grace, nothing has happened to you, but perhaps you may need to go back on your medications so as an additional layer so you don't have a seizure. Glad you haven't had one, but let's keep it that way. And that may require you resuming meds, but you'd have to check with your neurologist. So, but thank you for that question. Let's see. Oh, and you know what? I didn't put her question up there. There's her question. Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate you participating. Corinne, it seems like we need to try to keep people out of the hospital. Yes. People, can I say something? And don't be mad, IG, don't be mad, Facebook. We say healthcare. I get it. Healthcare, keep you healthy. Care, we care so you can stay healthy. When you come to the hospital, that's sick care. We don't say that, but it's sick care. You're sick, so you're in the hospital. That's sick care. Is that really healthcare? It's not. But we don't say that. But I said it. Hashtag sick care. That's what that is. We definitely want to keep people out of the hospital and keep them healthy at home. But if something happens, you're ill, not feeling well, something changes and you end up being in the hospital, you're sick. I'm going to provide care to you because you're sick, trying to get you back to health. That's what that is. So I just had to break it down that way because I like to keep it real on here. We got to keep it real. And I don't know who's afraid to say that. Maybe people are afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to say that because it is what it is. And I think one of the most important things and the things that I enjoy about having this platform, one, obviously I'm credentialed, I have experience and things like that, but transparency and speaking to audiences in a way in which they can really understand, and being direct. Forget all this fluff. I don't need fluff. Don't use big words with me. Tell me like it is. And I think that's what patients and people need to hear. I like to talk to people, keep it real before they become my patients. Because once you're my patients, we're having a whole nother conversation. And that's a more difficult conversation to have. And I don't want to have that with you. So listen to me now. So that's what that is. Okay. Let's see. Everything sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you. They're asking for volunteers at my school for contact tracers. That's a great experience. If you're a nursing student and you have the opportunity to participate and become a contact tracer, where else would you get this experience? Listen, I am hoping we never, ever, ever have another world pandemic. And if we don't have another world pandemic, you're not going to get this experience again. So soak it up now, Brianka. Get this experience. But be safe. Be safe. In St. Louis. All right, St. Louis. Tell Nelly I said, hey. No, I'm just playing. No, I'm just teasing. I'm a little silly now. Okay. Thanks so much for this. Oh, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying this conversation. Let me check in with our IG people. So IG, you still haven't come on over to Facebook? You still chilling over here, huh? Let's see what you guys got to say. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. I hope you guys are sharing this. Thanks for all the support. I see people from from Mexico, from all over the globe joining. Thank you so much. This is good stuff. And guys, just so on IG, so you know, we're over here on Facebook. We're talking about kind of COVID updates, vaccine updates, things that people want to know, answering your questions. And we talked about President Biden's rescue plan. What does it include and how does it impact nursing and the general public? Just kind of broad strokes, things that it's good for us to know as healthcare professionals. Thank you so much for joining. All right. So let's see. What else is Kevin saying? We're supposed to get preventative care to prevent sick hospital care. You are right. You want to stay as healthy, doing the little things now to prevent you from getting sick. Those are exactly the things that we should be doing. I'm sure Nelly would say. Oh, I'm glad you got the Nelly joke, Kevin. Thank you. Okay, so what other questions do you guys have? Let's see. What else did I wanted to those are some of the big things that I wanted to oh, something else. So, although a majority, well, I don't know. You know what? I'm about to say something, but it's probably changed because we are in COVID pandemic. And let's be honest, some businesses have closed. They will and have closed permanently because they're not able to sustain during this time. Some will possibly be able to reopen and recover. But when businesses close, what do you think happens? Not only one, does that leave people without the finances to take care of themselves, but what happens to their medical and their dental and their ability to take care of themselves? Many of them will lose that also. So one of the things that President Biden has discussed was re-energizing the Affordable Care Act and issuing some of the terms and conditions that were discontinued under the last president's term. So, although we don't have necessarily universal care, I think that the federal government is definitely going to be more involved with reinstituting the affordable components of the Affordable Care Act so people can have access to health care. I know we were just talking about sick care, but we got to start somewhere. And although the federal government is kind of leading the charge, it's going to be up to your state governors how they roll a lot of this out. So your voice matters. Voting matters, guys. I know that I'm not trying to be a politician and make this political, but I'm just saying, as the largest segment of the healthcare workforce, if we all came together and said, like, this is what we want, this is how we want it, and this is when we want it to be done, and we used our voice and unified in a way to strategically put people in place who could implement these things. And when I say put people in place, that means getting more nurses on certain boards and perhaps getting more nurses in government, and perhaps exercising your right to vote in a way that gets the right person in place. That would make a big difference. I know you thought I'm going to become a nurse, I'm going to take care of patients. Yes, you can take care of patients at the bedside, but a lot of what we do as nurses extends beyond the bedside. Yes, beyond the bedside. And for those of you who know, we previously had a show called Beyond the Bedside on nurse.org. And so we talked a little bit about that there too, but we're going to continue that conversation about the things that I can do as a nurse, not only at the bedside taking care of my patients, but what can I do for them outside of that? Because when I help one patient and one family, the things and the process and the things that I put in place can help many more. Okay, so we got to put systems and processes in place to better take care of our patients, which then results in taking better care of our community, which then results in taking better care of our nation. Okay, and then if people are healthier, hopefully they're staying out of the hospital, focused on healthcare, less sick care, and then the burden of what we're doing at the bedside doesn't have to be so rigorous and strenuous. And you saw me crying earlier with all the things going on. Listen, I work tonight too. Okay. And it is a mental game. I'll eat and rest and things like that, but it's a mental game. Once you step in on that unit, it's a mental game about how do I stay focused so I can take care of the people that are in front of me? If there's ever been a time where you wanted to test your time management, your delegation skills, and your prioritization, it is now, because people are getting sick left and right. And who do I see first? Everybody's so sick. Okay, so let me get some more of these questions. Gaynell. Okay. I am in New Jersey, and in my last 3 months of my BSN program and my clinical classes had to switch to virtual because the facility was not accepting any nursing students because of the spike in cases. Yeah. I like that your program is advocating for students to become involved and get on the ground clinical hours and experience. Absolutely. So thank you for your comment. You are almost done. You are in the home stretch. I can't wait for you to join me in the ICU to help take care of these patients. But if you are a nursing student, or you're someone like, oh, I wanted to go to nursing school, but now this pandemic, I don't know, please still continue. It's business as usual. Now, things may change. You may transition from a on-site hospital environment to clinicals or a lab. Don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged because we need you. And don't feel like, oh, it's this clinic, it's this simulation. I'm just going to float through this. Don't float. Don't float. Don't think that this is easy peasy. Study like you are still in the hospital. Show up, show out, and show us what you got because we need you. We need more nurses on the front lines. And so I need everybody who is in pre-nursing, who is a nursing student. I don't care if you're in your first semester, your last semester. I need you on the front lines. And so at nurse.org, there's tons of information that you can go to the nurse.org. There's tons of articles about how to help you study, stay focused, and stay on track in nursing school. We talk about the different specialties. If you're interested in a particular specialty, if you're interested in looking for a mentor, hit me up, slide in my DMs. I'd be happy to mentor you, talk to you about clinical experiences, whatever else you need, so I can help you get through nursing school so you can help me on the floor because we don't have enough people. We don't have enough nurses taking care of patients. So if you're nursing students, hit me up. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Hit me up. Let's talk about it because I need you to get through nursing school and I need you to get through it successfully. So if it's hard for you to study at home, online, those type of things, let's talk about it because I need you to show up and show out so you can pass those boards and join me on the front lines. And also, if you're a nursing student, I don't know if let's say you're nearing graduation or you've graduated and you kind of waiting on boards, you haven't done something. Hospitals now have they kind of had these and they kind of went away. Now they're back. They kind of have these in externships positions where you've done nursing school, but you're not quite an RN yet, or you've taken boards and you're waiting for your results type of thing. Apply, because it'll get you in a position where you're on the floor kind of orientating. It's almost like your last preceptorship, but you're working with a nurse, you're taking care of patients and you're getting paid and you're taking, you're doing this. And then as soon as that RN license hit, then you're already in a position. All they got to do is just change the pay scale, but you're already in position. So I would encourage you to do that. Don't be afraid. I know many people are afraid of COVID-19, afraid of getting it. I am as well. But I will be getting the vaccine and I'm going to continue to work in the ICU because, I think doing critical care transport spoiled me a little bit. It spoiled me a little bit. I mean, still took care of 6 patients, but to be on the floor, inundated, back to back, you can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. These patients are there and they need your help. And it made me reevaluate where my time is spent. And I'm going to say this, look, they need me in the ICU. They need me in the ICU. And so that's where I'm going to be. I like ER too. I do. I love ER, but ER, ICU, I'm showing up and I'm showing out. Okay. So we are winding up on our hour. It's supposed to be 30 minutes today. Sorry. Aline is going to kill me. Let me just answer a few more questions and then we'll be up out of here. And then we'll be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. With this happening, it made me not so confident in myself due to the lack of clinical experience. Listen, you will get it. Let's practice. Let's you do the most with what you have. You can only do what you can do. And I promise once you get on the clinical floor, it might be a little bit of a learning curve, but I promise if you have it up here, it'll, you just got to channel the powers, channel that knowledge to your fingertips to get it done, but you'll be able to do it. You will be able to do it. Okay. Let's see a couple more questions. Kevin, I went to school completely online. So if anyone would like my personal input on how to get through it, I have some insight. Thank you so much for Kevin. We got to support one another. And that's what nurse.org is about. So, let's see. Thank God I'll be done in April. Oh, good for you. She is graduation around the corner. Yes. I love it. You can join us on the floor, girl. We need you. IG, thank you so much for hanging tough with us. Yes, we are wrapping up the show here. This is Nursing Now, the show where we talk about important health and medical news, and we talk about trending topics and stories and things that impact nursing. Impact us, whether it's impacting our profession directly or impacting the things that we as nurses can do to help provide better services to our communities and to the general public. That's what we're here for. And we're also here to support one another. This is what this whole forum is about. Supporting you, answering your questions, helping you to kind of stay abreast on everything that's going on because it's hard. There's so many things. We got family, we got work, we got studying, school, all of that. So where can you go to kind of keep your finger on the pulse. It's like, okay, well, so this is what this is. This is kind of like that weekly check-in, like, okay, what's going on in the news today? What do I got to need to know? What's most important that kind of impacts nursing? Boom. That's us. We're talking about it right here every Tuesday. So please, you guys, I hope you shared this Facebook on this live. Please share the Facebook Live on your page. Start a watch party. Set your calendars for every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nursing Now with Nurse Alice here on nurse.org. Make sure to please visit nurse.org website, tons of information. You can sign up for the newsletter. Every topic from nursing school to nursing to specialty nursing, anything that you'd like to know about. Please also, if you don't already, follow nurse.org on IG and Facebook. Y'all listening to me over here, right? IG, y'all got it? Okay. Follow on IG, it's nurse_org. And on Facebook, it's nurse.org. It's spelled right there. But you guys are on Facebook, so y'all are already in the game. I am your host, Nurse Alice. I am a clinical nurse specialist, family nurse practitioner, nurse for over 23 years, working primarily in critical care and ED. And also a medical correspondent for NBC Los Angeles. So I love getting to chat with you all. Now I'm talking too much. That's why. Please make sure to visit my website, AskNurseAlice.com. Hold on. My throat got a tickle right there. And follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Ooh. Okay. So that has been our show for this evening. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined. Thank you for your comments, your questions. I love it. Again, make sure to visit us next week. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This has been Nursing Now. I'm Nurse Alice, and good night, guys. Stay safe, make good choices, love one another. Bye.